The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
So if you notice that on the Mini 3, the distance meter hasn't quite come up yet, even although she's flying out. Now that's probably because she only has 9 satellites. And it's just popped up there as soon as she has 13. So the distance that you see on the screen is probably about maybe 100-150 metres short of what it actually is. The two drones are flying within 20 minutes, 25 minutes of each other, and I've tried to keep the height as equal as I possibly can. Looking at the signal here, and you can see that the signal in the Mini 3 is fluctuating quite a bit more than the signal on the Mini 2. And in fact, we're getting quite a few orange dips on the Mini 3, right down to 2 orange bars there. Where the Mini 2 is stable at 5 full bars, just dropping down to 4 there. As I mentioned, it was stable at 5. There's not really an issue unless one of them goes into the red, and then that's when you have to start thinking about the possibility of completely losing the signal. Now you'll see that the distance on both screens look fairly equal. But Mini 3 is actually a couple of 100 metres further ahead than the Mini 2, so bear that in mind when the signal eventually gives out, to add a couple of 100 metres onto the distance that the Mini 3 has covered. Mini 3 has now reached 2 kilometres and it's still 2 orange bars, which isn't fantastic, but it's not red. And as the Mini 2 now reaches 2 kilometres, you can see that it's in orange, 2 bars also. Now there's the first red signal, and that's at approximately 2.5 kilometres on the Mini 3. Goes into the red for the first time. Mini 2 reaches 2.5 kilometres. White bars, 4 white bars. The Mini 3 now at 2,800 is in the red. So the Mini 3 has now reached 3,000 kilometres. And it still has 2 orange bars. Mini 2 just approaches 3,000 kilometres now, you can see that it still has 4 white bars dropping down to 3 orange and fluctuating between the two. So both drones are doing extremely well, now well beyond 3 kilometres and still a reasonable signal strength. There's the Mini 3 in the red at 3,000, over 3,800. Remember to add the 200 on. It's now lost all of the bars and it's 3,900. And the signal doesn't seem to be coming back. There, we've lost signal completely. That was about 3.9 kilometres on the Mini 3 and it automatically started to return to home. So there we go, 3739. Add a couple of hundred metres onto that, so you're looking at just short of 400 metres that it completely lost signal. So looking over at the Mini 2 as she approaches 4 kilometres now, still 3 orange bars, but at this point I decided I'll turn around because the low battery warning did go off about a minute ago and I decided it's time to bring her home. Now she's flying into a headwind, so the chances of her getting all the way home are pretty unlikely, but there are a few areas that I can safely land and then go and retrieve her. So the Mini 3 signal strength gave out before the low battery warning, whereas the Mini 2 low battery warning went off well before the signal strength had depleted. And in this test I can't tell how much further the Mini 2 could have gone before losing signal. But it doesn't really matter much anyway, because when you get the low battery warning, that's time to come home, even though I pushed on a little bit further. So while the Mini 3 has made it all the way back home because of that extended flying time in the Mini 3 battery, the Mini 2 is still fighting her way home. At this point it becomes quite clear to me that with 15% battery flight left, there's over a kilometre to go, there's no way that the Mini 2 is going to make it all the way home. So this is when I'm starting to look seriously for a place to land safely that I can go and retrieve her. And there's a couple of spots down there close to the road, a couple of passing points. So I'm looking at the passing point that looks like a red car and a white car in it. And there's it looks like a nice green patch of ground fairly close to it, so that's where I'm heading for, and I think that's where I am going to land her rather than push her any further.
Critically low battery.
there's a nice little spot to land. So we'll just set her down here, which is about a 2 or 3 minute drive from where I am at the home point. So there we go, safely landed. And just a few minutes later, my car pulls up and I go out and retrieve Lassie, who one way or another always comes home, even if she needs a little bit of assistance.